Here we have a jukebox with research data. This data comes from experiments with applying evolutionary algorithms to the evolution and discovery of synthesized sounds, where each sound can become the parent of new sounds by mutation. The algorithms we've been experimenting with are not optimizing towards any specific goal, but rather are encouraging diversity, a diverse set of discoveries, where sounds with one set of characteristics can become an ancestor for sounds with a completely different sets of characteristics. And we've been performing runs of those algorithms with different configurations, which have resulted in quite a lot of data, which we'll be analyzing, for example, by creating graphical plots. But it's also interesting to hear the actual sounds that the algorithms have discovered. And that's one reason for creating this explorer we have here, to open up that data for us and anyone else to navigate through the current results. And so here at the top we have a slider for navigating between the different evolutionary runs. And the second slider navigates between the predefined classes currently being used within each evolutionary run. A lot of the classes are not musically oriented, but discoveries with some of those classes can become ancestors for something that could be used in, for example, in some musical contexts. But there are a few musical classes or classes for musical instruments in this classifier, which is called the Yamlet. Then we can hear something more resembling musical instruments we might know. And here we see an example where the winning sound in the current class, violin, is a descendant from a sound in another class, bowed string in this case. So bowed string was the winning elite, winning sound in bowed string instrument class was mutated, and that new sound became the winning sound for violin. And the third slider allows to navigate through the evolutionary history of each Evo run, where we can observe how the winning sound emerged during the run. it seems to have happened really early on. Didn't really change. Let's see how this evolved. Was it always violin fiddle? No. Here we see that at iteration 63,000 or somewhere around that, a sound from the mandolin class was muted and won the fiddle class. Early on, actually. First it was violin fiddle. Then came in the descendant of a mandolin. And that sound seems to have kept its position with a 45% score during the rest of the run. So it can be fun to play with these sliders, but for comfort and ease, it can also be nice to enable automatic playback to kind of passively listen to what came up during those runs by pressing this auto button here. So random evolutionary run and random pass is chosen while I have this random button enabled. I can disable that to have sequential navigation through the classes. This filter enabled unstructured violin. And we can go back to random exploration. Something interesting during this automatic playback, I can step back with this. I can step back with this ankle button to the left of the auto button. Navigate back in the playback history. So let's say I like this sound. I can play it once and see if it works in some rhythmic manner. I can play it on repeat. And let's say I like it, I want it on my list of favorites. I can press the heart. And if I want to use the sound in some of my favorite software, I can download it with this arrow pointing down button. So then I get a WAV file with this sound downloaded to my device. And here at the bottom is the list of my favorites in my anonymous account, which was created when I logged in. But if you go onto another device, you won't have this list. But you can see the list of favorites from all accounts, all the anonymous accounts, by toggling this from everyone button. And scroll through what everyone has added to their list. And here I actually have this sound on my own list since the button is red. As well. So here's a sound that is not on my list. Someone else added it to their list of favorites, and I can make it my favorite also by pressing this heart button. And further down we have sliders for 3 settings of the sound: duration, pitch, and velocity. And the default settings are those that the sound had when it won its current class. So this filing rasp sound won that class with a duration of half a second and with a pitch delta downwards by 36 notes and with half velocity. But so with these sliders, it's possible to change the settings to see if something else interesting comes up. Not in this case. So it doesn't really work to make it longer. Let's try another one. %50 cowbell. Let's try making it longer. For some sounds it makes sense to change the pitch, but not all sounds, for example percussive sounds. But we can try changing the pitch of the sound and see if it has any effect. Seems to have some effect. And we can go kind of microtonal by toggling off this int button. So then we're not traversing whole notes of a Western scale. And it's the same case for velocity. In some cases it makes a difference, but others not. So velocity is supposed to imitate pressing, for example, piano key at different intensities, or plucking a string at different intensity. So for some sounds it succeeds in emulating that. Let's try it for this sound. No, not for this sound. For some of the piano sounds, it works. I actually like this. I think I'll put it to my list. But is the intensity matter? Nope. How about this? Yeah. But it's possible to render the sound in the browser of the current device by toggling over to local. It uses the same technology, for example the Web Audio API, but there are some implementation differences. So in some cases rendering locally versus remotely can sound differently, and that can actually just be interesting. So this is on this device. And remote service. Same effects. You can try a different sound. Local? Not at all working. There's some difference. And more interesting, I think, with the remote service. Good Christmas music we have here. And here are toggles for including or ignoring evolutionary runs that do not promote the diversity, but rather optimize for just a single class at a time, which were performed for comparison and to measure whether the diversity promotion really matters. But by default they are ignored, but the toggle is off now because I have already navigated my list of favorites, and my favorites might come from those classes, so then it's disabled. But I hope you try this out and discover something interesting, and if you do, then you can add it to your list of favorites with the heart and download it and, for example, make some song with it. Thank you.